Because I think that when a bigot looks at me in my face, what they think is, if this person's going out in full drag makeup, clearly they don't give a shit and they're not ashamed at all. So what's me saying anything to them going to change, right? Or do? They clearly are not going to be bothered by anything I say because they know they look weird, right?
Yeah, confidence is a big thing. Not only confidence, but just being vehemently yourself.
Exactly.
Is I think, powerful around others, yeah.
Do you think Duke Doberman gets any hate comments on his Twitter? No, probably not.
Yeah.
Because he clearly does not give a shit.
We grabbed some coffee on a Sunday morning to talk about kinky stuff. What could go wrong? This is Fur Features on XBN. I am really excited to have such personalities join this show. DerrDog and Skylier Rain join me to talk about the depths of our cultural desires, self-expression through drag and murrsuiting, what our character identities mean, and how we've learned to respect them. We had a blast with Derr and Skylier on our more high-energy FurCast show, but I wanted to learn more about the intricacies of what makes them tick and see how well it relates to you and I. We kicked things off talking about their backgrounds, and then we followed that up with some questions from the audience to kind of get us going. Well, thank you guys for joining me to talk about all kinds of fun, naughty, psychological, intense, I don't know, intimate things.
That's a lot of categories right there.
That is a lot of categories, but that's kind of what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Well, luckily we've got some stuff to keep us going because we did ask people in the FurCast audience to ask us questions about some of this stuff so that we could kind of move it along and also give some credit to some people for some really good questions actually that are in there.
Really good ones.
And thank you to DerrDog, by the way, for getting that together. It was great.
He's so organized. Love it.
Yeah, you're so organized even though you've never
I
done
work
this.
in property management. If you're not organized, your life is going to suck.
I think that segues well into like
Into what you do, yeah.
section,
So yeah, if you guys want to tell, so where do you come from? What's your background?
So, employment-wise, I've done 5 years of theater and like audio and visual management for theater.
Mm-hmm.
I did set design. My current job is property management and maintenance for conservation.
Mm-hmm.
So I do a very, very wide variety of things. I can be driving a tractor 1 minute and doing paperwork the next. It's great.
There you go. And what do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? Well, you know, I'm a furry. I run around Toronto. I get laid. We do it all.
DerrDog's a tease. That's his background.
I was gonna say, so like for me,
I
like,
actually follow through.
we fuck off. So we're gonna be talking about like murrsuiting and stuff, and for me, like I own a murrsuit. Don't get me wrong, and I enjoy it and I have fun with it. I'm more so of a monogamous person. I like romance. I like sticking to one person.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. I personally, if I am faced with a situation where there's something sexual going on in front of me, it actually makes me very uncomfortable. And
Oh,
it's,
I wish
I'm actually really
it's
sorry to hear that.
not-
Oh, it's about, I'm really.
But that's the thing is, I'm very good at hiding it and not showing the
You
fact
should have
that
said
I am the
something
way
to
I
us.
am. And
There's been so much stuff going
Can I
on
just
this
point out that
weekend.
like we were being lewd earlier
Oh my
while you were in
God,
the room?
yeah.
I
feel
know.
bad now. Way to
I-
make us feel bad.
I walked in yesterday and
I
there
would
was a
never-
person
oh my
sucking
God.
3 people's dicks, and I'm just like, okay.
Derr,
Like,
you
it's just
should
it's
say
happened.
something.
No, but you know what the thing is I don't want to be that person that's that buzzkill. That's
Okay,
just
so-
like,
so
you know
no,
what,
so-
guys,
so-
fuck off, don't do this shit.
So no. Here's how I feel. If you walk in to the situation happening,
Yeah.
then don't be about like it's not really your business kind of thing. Like, and if it makes you uncomfortable, leave.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I feel like we were also just casually having a conversation. Then I started making it lewd, and I feel like if that's the case, and I mean, like, you should say, "Hey guys, stop for a minute. I'm trying to have a conversation with you."
But why should I stop you from doing something that you like?
Because there's already another situation going on that and then I did something without considering how it would make other people in the room feel.
But even then, like, it's not me involved in the situation. So although I might be slightly uncomfortable with it, I'm not going to turn around and be like, hey, don't do this because I don't like it. If you're enjoying yourself.
I guess. I understand
you know,
it's very awkward to ask that. Like, I get it. But
Well, it's kind of like seeing like a kink or something that you don't like that turns you off online. Like that happens to me all the time, and I try to do my best because it's like I'll see like a piece of art
sounding
that's like
is that for me. I can't.
Sounding does that?
I can't like. I will if I'm scrolling through my AD and I accidentally see a picture of somebody sounding, I'm like, no, and I look away from my screen and I like scroll, like I can't, it makes me cringe.
But for me,
I don't judge you if you're into sound.
I think we all have different things that are like a little we're just not into. But like I try to do my best if like people enjoy it, and I know that people like those things, so it's like I try to just be okay with it because it's like
it's just something about the idea of like I don't like the idea of something going the wrong way in my dick hole. Like I can't.
Yeah, but dicks go up your butthole, and that's not.
No, I understand that. So I understand the irony.
well, except there's arguments that biologically that's actually supposed to work.
Yeah. So I totally get the irony, but like it's just something about like I can't. I'm just thinking about it now, and I have to stop it. Let's change it.
But for the most part, though, I would say I try to be. Like I try not to jump back that hard and be that cringed out because there's a lot of things that people are into that I'm not. And yeah, it sucks that it's a little bit of a boner kill sometimes if I'm scrolling through stuff and I see something I don't like. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just let people be into that because I know that some of the shit I'm into is just as off-putting to other people.
Absolutely, yeah.
And as long as you're not hurting anybody, then, it's good. But so I guess we'll jump in and maybe I'll edit these around. So do you want to talk about your background with some of this stuff, with psychology and...
This will take a while.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah.
Break it down into, like, small sections.
Okay, so I currently, I'm what I like to call a special needs behavioral specialist. So right now I work as a CYW, which is a child and youth worker. I specialize in working with children and youth with autism, ADHD, ODD, FASD, impulse control disorders, all general things like that. And I went to school for 6 years to be as highly educated as I am in that. So I did my undergraduate degree in psychology, my bachelor's of science, and then I moved back to Canada and I did my master's of education in developmental psychology and education. So while I'm not technically to be called a psychologist, you have to have a PhD, but I'm in this awkward middle ground where like I'm more highly educated than most people who work in the field that I work in, but also I'm not enough to be like, you're a psychologist.
Yeah.
So basically all my education is in development and how development impacts different things and what impacts your development and what causes you to think and act different ways as an adult, which is why I love talking about things like sex and fetishism because it's all rooted back into your first few formative years of life and your childhood development and your early experiences.
Yeah.
I'm also you asked what I do for fun. I'm also I go to metal. I'm a big metalhead, so I love going whenever it's like concert season. I go see so many concerts. I have like 3 coming up that I have tickets for.
Wow.
I love going in mosh pits and just like oh man, it's so hard to describe to people like how awesome moshing is because they see video of it, especially at metal shows, and it looks like you're getting beaten the fuck up. But like, it's honestly, I don't feel safer anywhere else than being in a Toronto mosh pit. It's crazy how actually safe you are in an environment that's so aggressive. Every time I've fallen down in a mosh pit, which happens, it happens to everybody, it's expected. Immediately, like 5 people will pick me up and make sure I'm okay, and we keep going.
So people won't step on you.
No, absolutely not. The only concerts that I find, so again, I usually go to like more niche concerts and bands. So really, like if once you go to a few concerts in the same city or town, in the same city, you start recognizing most people because it's like the same community.
You know what it reminds me of? I hate saying this because I know it's not the same thing and I don't mean to apply it to what you're saying, but like it kind of reminds me of Fight Club a little bit, where it's like...
Yeah, it's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing. But it kind of reminds me of that, like...
nobody's trying to hurt each other.
Yeah, nobody's trying to hurt anybody. Yeah. But like...
There's always one asshole. There's always, at every concert, there's one asshole who doesn't get how moshing works, and they're trying to hurt people, and then we suss that person out immediately, and they get pulled out of the mosh pit right away. You start recognizing people. I find the more dangerous mosh pits are like if you go to like festivals and like big concerts for popular bands. I don't really trust those mosh pits because there's always like instead of it being the tight-knit community of people who go to shows consistently and know the etiquette of a metal show, there's a lot of people who are like, this is their first concert, like this is one of the few concerts they go to, and they have no idea how to mosh, and they're like dumb about it.
Wow.
So it really depends on the community.
Yeah.
And I'm also a drag queen. I do drag on the side, not at all a profitable venture for me, but it's it's like being any other kind of artist. It's like performance art and makes me very happy and makes me very tired as well because quite often I will finish a full day of work, go home, take like a 2-hour nap, wake up, do my makeup for like takes me about like 2 hours, 2.5 hours to get ready, and then go out and perform all night and get back home at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Go to sleep and get up at 6:30 for work.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And it seems to me like the drag community, which I don't know much about, but it seems to me like it's a lot like furry, actually.
Yes.
Like it's very
tight knit.
close knit, and people. It's kind of like a chosen identity kind of thing, and
Yes.
people identify you and think of you more as your chosen identity than your.
Yeah, we have a lot of the same phrases too, which is really funny.
Really?
Yes. So like how we say as furries that that really you don't choose the fan, the fan chooses you.
Right.
Drag queens say the exact same thing.
Really?
Yeah, because everyone knows that like while it is a choice, you didn't have a choice. It was in you the entire time, and it wasn't a choice to not pursue this for you.
Right.
Because it's like because you have to like, especially for something like drag, you have to consider how much of an investment it is, both not just emotionally but financially, to even start drag as well. Makeup's expensive, and makeup's very expensive when you don't have any of it at all. I remember the first time I went out to go buy makeup and I had none of it, and I went to a cheaper place and I got the bare minimum. I spent $175 just on getting like the basics what I needed for like a full face of makeup. I guarantee you I own more than $500 worth of makeup now. Guaranteed.
So is drag about? I think you might have said it yesterday, actually. I might be paraphrasing you a little bit, but it's like hyper gender expression.
Yes. So we like to define it that way now because the way people used to say it, it's like it's a man dressing up as a woman, and that excludes a lot of people who do drag very legitimately. I will say there's no means a consensus on this. Like there's a lot of people who don't feel, and again, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of drag performers, fuck those people who think that like women, biological women can't do female drag, or like like drag kings aren't valid, or like trans people can't do drag. Fuck those people, honestly, who think that way because it's really exclusionary.
Yeah.
But like. No, it's basically if you are trying to overly exaggerate the features of a given gender. That is the main thing about drag. But again, it's an art form like anything else. So like this is a way I like to explain to people who like, especially like the older generations who do know about drag, but they think of it like, oh, it's female impersonation. Somebody will get up and they'll try to look like Cher and they'll do a Cher song, right? And that's such a limited way of viewing of it. If you walk into an art gallery and there's a bunch of landscape paintings, and you really like landscape, right?
Yeah.
But you would never think that's the only kind of art that exists, right?
Yeah.
Like there's portraiture, there's abstract art, there's like Picasso style, there's impressionism, there's all these, and they're all valid forms of art. And drag they're all valid forms like painting, and drag's the same way, where yes, you may have only been aware of one aspect of it, but there's all this other stuff to it as well. There's like avant-garde drag as well. There's like gender performance. And again, like the kind of drag makeup that you may be familiar with, like not everyone tries to look like femme fatale, as we call, or like really fishy or even really exaggerated. Like there's like kinds of drag where people do like art on their face, or like what's the phrase I'm looking for? Like makeup illusionism, where like they will like trying to make their face look like a pork bun or something, like, you know what I mean? Like
Really weird stuff.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of furry a little bit, because a lot of people look at furry and they probably like, oh, so you just want to be like, you just dress up and, oh, you want to be a fox or whatever. So that's what it's all about. And it's like, no, it's more like it's deeper than that. Like we want this world to exist where we are these creatures that we kind of suspend disbelief in and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So do you guys want to talk about murrsuits?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm down.
I'm down.
Are you down?
Down.
All right. So the first question, why don't we just jump in with that, actually, because it's the first one that was forwarded to our group, and it's from our fan Twilord, and he says, how can one most effectively pursue their first murrsuit experience? So when he says experience, what that says to me is not necessarily owning one, but like
Having
the
sex with
experience of
someone.
it. Yeah, being involved.
I think just a general rule of thumb is always pursue it the same way you would try to pursue any other kind of safe sex. Use the same general rules apply. Make sure you know and trust somebody. You feel comfortable. Those are all standard rules that apply. Group chats are usually a good way. Get into NSFW group chats.
Yeah.
But like honestly, like from my opinion, and like this is all opinion, in that situation, I guess it depends on your situation as well. Like for me, I'm more of a person that obviously wants to be with the one person. So like I'm more of obviously a monogamous person, but being involved in certain situations, I find if you're going to like a hotel, like con party or something like that, you can kind of you get to know the people outside of the suit first, more or less, unless like they're like really into it.
Yeah.
But when you get to know that person, sometimes you know them with, just like their suit on but their head off. And then I've had situations where like friends have just been like, all right, like we've talked for a while. Hey, do you want to do something? And then they go back to their room and it just ends up falling into place. Like it doesn't have to be something that you're just like, oh, I'm going to fuck you at MFF and, you just get into a room and you fuck. No, like a lot of the times for most people, it's not something that's planned. It just kind of happens, and it could be something that's lustful, and it could be something that's just a quick hookup. But I find it just falls into place more than planning it.
So it's interesting the concepts behind it, because we've had some people mention that anonymity is a big part
I was
of it.
about to say that I was going to read a response that we got here in the chat.
And that's, I think, another important thing to think about for you is what about the experience is what you want. And I say that because I happen to be like more poly and open myself. And so I can very quickly, upon meeting somebody that I'm mutually attracted to, get to the point where we are more sexual, whatever, because to me that can be casual.
I'm somewhere in between both of you, actually.
Yeah, and you're somewhere in between.
Yeah, the two of you guys.
But for me, what I want to say is this: although I can get to that point very casually, and once I start to make sure that I like their friends and they know my friends, and then hey, we're mutuals, we can get closer and closer very quickly. I've had times where it'll come down to it, and they'll say, "Oh, so do you want me to do it with you in suit?" And I'll actually say no, because I haven't done it with them out of suit yet, and I don't know. For me personally, I want to do something with somebody where I understand them. I understand their intimacy. I can be close with them. I can kiss them. I can understand them at that level, and then we can try the suit thing, which is interesting because I know there's some people who disagree with that. There's some people who don't want to know the person.
I don't get it at all.
It's just a character.
The suit to you is pretty much like a barrier of personality.
Yeah.
You want to be able to know them before you get involved with that.
I would say the suit to me, and we were talking about this earlier too, I think when you and I were taking a shower earlier, where a suit to me is... I'm into
spilling everything here.
All the best conversations happen in the shower.
Oh my gosh,
the best conversations happen in the shower.
So true.
So true.
Oh my God.
That's why I love taking showers with people.
I was saying to you as well that like I was so nice to do it because it reminded me of like when I was with my ex, when I was a woman I was dating for a year and a half. We would have the best, like the most platonic showers you can possibly imagine, where we would like, instead of like getting all up on each other, we would just have discussions and debates about like philosophy and just different
it kills the barrier.
matters. Yeah, it was awesome.
The best way to be close to somebody. But anyway, so we were discussing how, like, for instance, for me, I like physical TF, but not mental TF.
Transformation is what
it is. TF, transformation. So, like, for instance, imagine some guys like, full moon, oh my God, TFing into a werewolf, whole TF sequence, then they're a werewolf. To me, I want them to still be the same person. Maybe they're a little bit more animalistic, or maybe they're a little horny or something, but like, right? But for me, some people want them when they TF to be like a monster.
Like a feral beast.
They're like a feral beast.
Them.
They need to like fucking breed you. Whereas to
Fuck
me...
me, daddy. Like...
Yeah. For me, I like the physical but not the mental. So that's why, to me, it's important to be close to the person out of the suit, because the suit is just an enhancement. It's like wearing...
I just realized I don't think I ever said my name when this podcast.
You never did?
No, I'm Skyler. Hi.
It's okay. We're only 19 minutes in.
Hi. I have a few different names that I go by. When I'm in the fandom, you can call me Skyler, and when I'm in drag, you can call me Alyssa Brink. And I'm not saying my real name because it's very distinctive and it'll be easy to find me.
Okay.
They're looking for you. They will find you.
Both my first and last name are like names that I've never seen anybody else have. So like I can't like.
Do you also just like your chosen identity?
I do a lot. Like I'm very into like. Again, like I'm not like afraid of people knowing it. Like other friends knowing. It's just like I love like I really get a sense of comfort out of people calling me a name that I chose personally. I love my real name. I do. Like, I love it a lot. But, like, I get a lot of comfort out of being like, wow, like I said, this is what my name was, and people call me this. And also, one of the reasons I chose the name of Skyler is because I wanted a name that was more androgynous.
I like that a lot.
Can I just point out that you actually chose your name and it's something you like? Av chose mine.
Av chose your name?
So Av went off my Twitter handle. He's just like, oh, hey, Derr. And I'm like, it eventually
It's a
just
Derr.
stuck because my original character's name was
Xander.
Zeter.
Zeter? I thought it was Xander. Okay.
And
I thought it was
like,
Zider.
and no one pronounced it correctly, so I didn't really care much. And Derr just kind of stuck, and everybody in the Toronto community started calling me Derr. There was like 2 people that called me Zeter or Zider, and it was literally like you and Flair. So I'm like, okay, like no big deal, like whatever. Like it's my actual name, and I should respond to it, but I just. And then eventually, with my character redesign, I just said to the artist, I'm like, okay, so you're going to put Derr. And it's going to officially change to Derr. Because
you're a deer dog.
I have learned, okay,
You have,
so like,
you have little handlebars.
if I'm at work and like, so I work in a facility where students do show up, and sometimes kids are like make stupid noises or stupid names, and I hear Derr, and I actually turn around, and when people call my real name, I don't respond because I don't
That's
even
so
think
good.
about it.
That's good. All right, so okay, jumping back in. So I was talking about mental TF,
TF.
not physical TF, and that's why it's important for me to know the person inside the suit.
See, I'm also kind of into. I like mental TF though as well.
You do?
I do.
Yeah.
I love like slow like, and this I didn't realize this is a word that I taught you today. I love like nice gentle tantric sex as well.
Tantric?
Tantric it implies like very romantic, cuddly, lovey-dovey kind of sex is like what tantric sex is.
Okay.
But then I also like, like I'm averse in like every sense of the word, where like I can want to be like totally submissive and like really like like just give myself up to something, or to be really really dominant, and my sex drive can change like what I want can change from like moment to moment or day to day. Sometimes I want really emotional, like nice, cuddly, snuggly sex, and sometimes I want to be destroyed, right? Like, and sometimes I just want like somebody who's like an animal to fuck me, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's different moods.
Yeah. I think, so when that relates back to mursuiting, I feel like that's an important thing to think about for you, though. To Tyler, who asked, or for anybody who's asking about how to get into mursuiting, is what is your goal with it? Is it that you are being fucked by some feral animal type thing? Is it like you're falling in love with this character?
Yeah.
Is it that you want to be close to that person? Personally, at least I'm going to say this, I would recommend, even if it's your first time, no matter what your goal is, you should probably know and be comfortable with the person inside the suit. I get that some people,
They want
pulling the
anonymity.
suit off ruins it to them, but personally for me, I would say it's better to do it with a friend that you trust.
It's also just like, strictly speaking, it's also just less safe to have sex with somebody that you don't know what they look like as well. Like, this is also not super safe too.
Yeah.
Like again, like I'm not shaming anybody at all. I'm just telling you like what's safe and what's not, right? And that's not to say I haven't done things with people that I like. I've done things at a con with people that I literally don't even know what their face looks like. I don't even know their name, right? I'm not particularly proud of that, right? Because I think, as a rule, I should always aim to be safe, you know, personally. But like, yeah, just as a general rule of thumb, just consider your own safety, right? Like a lot of people, I find furries a lot of the time are always considering their own satisfaction, which is great. It's good. That's something you should keep in mind too, is how do I get my own sexual satisfaction? But not enough people consider their safety as well.
Yeah.
Like, just keep that in mind,
And
please.
or if you're lucky, you can tie in being safe to being part of something that turns you on. For instance, somebody who seems like they're safe to me is actually a turn on. And I guess I'm lucky because I know there are some people where that's not the case.
Yes.
And I feel bad for them. Like I've heard people who are like, oh man, if you talk about like safe sex, that like turns me off. And I'm like,
Bye.
I am sorry. I feel bad for them. I genuinely feel bad for them. But so the only other thing to talk about, I guess, would be, do you think adding it in layers helps a little bit? Like, do you think maybe like just trying a suit head with a friend, or wearing a suit head yourself or something like that, rather than a full suit, can get you into a little more? Because then you can do some of the. It depends on, because I know poodling kills it for some people, but
I mean, I feel like it all depends on what you want to get out of it, right? It all depends on what you have available to you too, right? Like, for me, when I've had sex in my suit, it's only ever been with my head and like pause on because I don't have an SBH in my suit.
Yeah.
So I can't have sex in full suit. Because again, it's not something that I'm super interested in. It's not something I dislike either. But it's just like I'm a lot like you. I like bodies. I like kissing people. I like I don't necessarily get anything out of my character fucking somebody. When I've mursuited before, the only thing that was more of a turn on for me is I'm really into like body heat and like sweating and things like that. So like, cool, I'm wearing my head and it's warmer. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right? But it wasn't anything to do with the character I was wearing or anything like that or the anonymity. I also I make a lot of faces and noises during sex. I kind of like my partner being able to see the faces I'm making. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, it's kissing and biting are a big thing for me, and I get that in fursuiting you can kind of role play a little bit of that, but yeah, we were biting each other earlier. Yeah, we had fun.
Oh my god, you have no idea. I was being so gentle with him because he likes gentle. I want to. Okay.
I'm glad you were being gentle because it was
no, because I knew that's what you like. But like I've been with people who I'm like, yes, you like rough biting because I love like just leaving marks on people.
If it's in the right spot, I'm okay with it.
And it's funny because like you gave me a light bite yesterday. And I'm not a biting person. I don't like any sort of physical pain. And he like bites me really softly, and I'm like, "You bitch!" Like, ow! And I'm just like, and you're just like, "Oh, I'm sorry, but yeah, you're a little bitch."
So another thing to talk to, and this kind of ties into how do you get started? Maintenance, and also should you have a separate suit for this? And we had one thing from Coda who said, I will say being a mursuiter, I take extra care of my suit. It is washed, never worn in public after doing naughty things with it.
Naughty things.
I've heard some people say, they like to keep it as a completely separate suit, or they will get a suit just for mursuit stuff.
Which I think is pretty considerate and safe.
Which is like for me, like even though it hasn't been used for that yet, I have a specific bodysuit. Like my wild dog, obviously you guys saw it on the show yesterday. And
on FurCast.
I have like taken like some lewd pictures with it, but the bodysuit itself will never see the light of day of a con in a public space.
So here's my question.
And that is the thing.
What for me, and I'm not much of a fursuiter, but I will say this: if I was gonna suit, it would have to be my character. It has to be me because I'm very vehemently into like the suit is just a representation of who I would like to be, whereas some people can wear a different suit that's just a character, and they can take on that character, and that makes sense. That you would have a separate mursuit.
Other people's suits as well.
Yeah, and some people would say that having a separate mursuit, it's not just about the cleanliness. It's not just about that. It's also that is the character that they take on that is sexual.
Do you know what I find interesting?
Okay.
And I'm curious what your perspective is on that because you wear not only two different suits, but two different characters.
Yeah.
So like for me, for instance, my dear dog is more of the pure innocent character that
sorry.
suit, it's not. Honest, you know what?
Can we cut to a clip of the show yesterday, please?
Okay, so hold on a second. The thing is like what you guys saw on the show yesterday with me dancing in my underwear and stuff like that. That is not unusual for me, even out of suit. And
this is true.
But the actual sexual aspect of that character would never come out. There would never be anything sexual of that character. That character has never seen anything sexual.
You're just a cute movement tease, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It would never be involved in something that like that. And that's because I want to keep the character's image pure. The wild dog is more of a realistic style face. It's got the angry eyes. And don't get me wrong, people look at me and go, "Oh, you're a bottom, you're a bitch." And I'm just like, you're a bottom and you're a bitch. But at the end of the day, I can be pretty aggressive and I can pin your ass down. And I'm not going to list names on who I've done that to.
He's like 5'2". He's not pinning anybody down.
Get the fuck out of here. It's 5'5". But that's the thing is like I'm not a dominant person, but I do like to be able to be dominant sometimes and not have everybody always think of me as the bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
And that's the thing, too, is like the wild dog character, I didn't think I'd become so attached to it. Like, it's obviously not my main character, so I don't have as much of a mental attachment to it. But I do like the fact that, like, yesterday, like, I can glare into the camera and people would just be like, "Oh my god, those eyes!" Like,
yeah.
Joe, you know what I've always thought about that character? The eyes look very hypno. If you look into them, I kind of get like a hypnosis vibe from it.
Yeah,
Like,
I feel like
you complain to that
It's
finish really
supposed
well.
to, and that's the thing is like that's the reason why the character is secondhand. I did buy it secondhand, and I'm sorry to the original owner if you've seen my pictures, but
Well, you don't know how he feels about it. You
oh no, I know
like
how he
it.
feels, and he doesn't give a shit, which is nice.
good,
'Cause
good.
and he's such a sweetheart. I like the fact that if I look at you and you are really into it, the eyes draw you in.
they
The
do.
eyes
They very
drew
much do.
me in from the pictures on the auction website.
Yeah, they very much
and
do.
that's why I got him.
Yeah, they very much do draw people in.
So another thing, there's a few people who have mentioned. I don't know if I can pull up any names. I'll try in a second, but a couple of people have mentioned how do you do a stigma? Here's one from Radio Deer. Real talk here. Have you gotten negative perception from others being a mersuiter? Your thoughts on the do not hug list? I love that. Do not.
What's a do not hug list?
Like those block together lists on Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's kinda
is it
like
one of those
that-
things that people say don't hug these suits at cons because they're mersuits?
Because they're mersuits, yeah. It's so dumb.
well, it's-
But anyway, that is also the advantage of having a separate suit is if it's a separate suit, first of all, not everybody needs to know that is your separate suit. So it's not necessarily tied to your identity. Second of all, it's a separate suit. So if you're on a do not hug list, guess what? Nobody's going to hug it anyway because it's never going to leave the bedroom.
But even then, some people put you on the do not hug list,
yeah,
and they
I feel
don't
like-
realize that you have the second suit.
was gonna
like
say,
because
I
they've
think once
seen
you're
it in
on
an
this,
X2 video
Yeah.
that was really fucking
I
hot,
feel like once
but they don't
you're-
want to hug you.
I feel like once you're on that list, like they're not gonna. There's like those people who do that are so petty that they're not even.
Can I just say that I kind of want to be on the do not hug list?
Oh,
Like that-
just as like
what I-
Bitch, you already are.
What I love
and you
about
don't even
that-
have a suit.
Oh, dude, I'm on so many Twitter block lists. It's not even funny.
I love it.
Like I get associated with so much shit. Like it's funny.
I
And I'm on your show.
Sorry, what was the question again? What was
The question was negative perception.
So I've never dealt with any negative perception personally with my character and suit because my suit's quite new. But I've also never made any qualms about how I feel about sex and like I like again on my channel I very openly talk about all different topics of sex and how I feel about it. I'm a very sexually open person. I think more people should be that way. So I feel like no one would even ever bother to like try to stigmatize me because they know I'm not ashamed of it and I don't care. I feel like a lot of the times people do these things because people try to hide it and then so other people will assume that like, oh, I've outed you, and like if somebody tries to do it with me, I'll be like, outed what? I was public about this forever.
I love that.
Like-
I love when people find something out about me and they
And I'm
they
like,
think they're unraveling
and
a
what,
conspiracy.
bitch? Like, I don't,
and,
like-
and it's like, dude, I've always had this. But I think so. My answer to this question, and this is as somebody who runs a podcast, does a bunch of stuff on Twitter. I'm staffing a lot of cons. The biggest thing to avoid negative perception, regardless of the individual steps you take, like having a separate suit or any of that, is being surrounded by the right people, honestly. And when I say
was
that,
going to get into that.
Yeah, I don't.
yeah, the kinds of friends that you have. And like I know right now, because I've retweeted Mursuit stuff on my Twitter, that my followers and the people around me would enjoy it.
You have to craft the community that you want.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you are careful with the kinds of people you surround yourself with.
And that's the thing, like, and I'm going to use the Toronto community and the people that we hang
Oh my
out
god,
with.
yes.
Love the Toronto
They
community.
are,
Best.
they are
I
the
feel so
kindest
fortunate.
people, the most respectful
yeah.
people. And I mean,
Well,
don't get me
not
wrong, there
the
are
whole. I was gonna say like the Toronto community of the Toronto Furs that we associate with.
Oh yeah, and that's what I
Yeah.
mean. Like our group of
Yes.
friends.
Our group.
You're not gonna get somebody that's going to do like a photo shoot and then go, okay, I'm gonna post this on Twitter, and just not give a shit. Or like there are people that'll be like fucking, and they won't even because they have their suits on. They don't realize that they're filming, and then it ends up on like
Yeah,
X2.
no, that's not gonna happen.
That would never happen
No,
with
not
the
with
group
us.
of people that we hang out with. Because
I definitely know people within the Toronto community that are like the anti-sex kind of. It's not that big of a thing.
Well, I think the
but
important
not
thing
the people we
is
associate with.
you also
No,
gotta,
exactly.
You also got to make sure that the people you're talking to and around and sharing things with, think about demographics, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going into a Telegram group, and that group, think about what that group is based on. If it is a local furs group chat, like the city, let's say, I don't know, you live in Tampa, and you're in the Tampa furs group. or
Tampa,
something,
Florida.
Right? Tampa. But if you post in there, obviously you're going to get negative feedback, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're doing something that is not directly associated with that demographic.
Sure.
But if you're in a group of people that are, maybe they are locals, just as much locals, but you know them very well. They're your friends, and these are the people you entrust, and they're your little circle,
Yeah.
rather than just like an open group. I think that's a very important thing. And that's one of the reasons that I try to stick personally, like on Telegram, I try to stick with groups that are topic-based, not demographic-based.
Yes.
With the exception of maybe the big Toronto group you guys are in. But even then...
It's pretty demographic.
It is
too, yeah.
It's semi-what demographic, but there also is an Ontario furs group.
Oh, which is trash.
Which is, I've heard it's a cesspool.
It's a cesspool.
I feel bad saying that on a show,
No,
but it's a cesspool.
Even people
But
in
you know
that
what the
chat
thing
it's a
is
cesspool.
like you can't hide the reality behind that. Like you're gonna have the group of people that, and I don't mean to be rude, that are going to be like the cringe and stuff like that, and then you're gonna have the people that you hang out with, and they're kind of like your type of cringe. I don't know. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. I love that.
Because
your
the thing is,
type of
Self-aware
cringe.
because you know what the
yeah.
thing is everybody's gonna think no matter what you talk about. Like honestly, like, and I'm gonna go into a little bit of a wide thing here. A lot of people like the dad
Av.
thing.
I was gonna say Av is fully the most cringe person I've ever met in my entire
And I
life.
love him.
But
I
I
love
love
him.
him because
Yeah.
he does it knowing that it's cringe, and that's why he
And that's the thing though.
laughs
But
at
like,
it.
and we have our own type of cringe. Like some people might look at us and go, "You guys are fucking weird," and
like,
we're just
yeah,
like,
and what,
Fuck
bitch?
yeah, bud. Like the shit that we're doing is hilarious. Like on the show yesterday, look at the voicemail Av did for me as a
Oh
joke.
my God.
Because
Yeah.
he knew it was cringy, he knew it was funny, and he sent it to me. And unfortunately, I opened it at work. But it was yeah. My coworkers
did.
know
Oh
a little
my
too much
God.
about me at this point.
I think an important thing is self-awareness of the ability to laugh, right? And that's the other
yeah.
thing. Like I've watched two of my friends who are into murrsuit stuff that I room with at a hotel. Like they would get halfway through stuff and they would just start laughing, and I think that's an important thing to be able to do that. And you know, how many times have all of us been with a group of furries and you hear some furry go, "Oh, I can't stand furries that do thing that I'm into because it's so cringy," and you're like,
Oh my God.
Ew, latex.
So here's the thing. So here's the thing. I don't deal with that shit because I'm a very like argumentative person. I will fucking fight you on that. If somebody said, no, I'm not kidding. And this is why people like that don't hang around me anymore because they know that I'm not going to let them sit there and see their shitty opinion and ignore them. If somebody says something shitty and ignorant and stupid, I'm going to say, why do you believe that? Right? And make them explain to me. And I will argue with you.
yeah.
But that's the thing.
I'll do it.
Everyone is entitled to an opinion.
No,
And
no, I actually disagree with that. I hate that cop out. Okay, everyone is entitled to have an opinion, right? But I hate when people say that shit, especially about this getting more political, right? But that's the typical conservative dipshit talking point of like, well, we can disagree, but we can still be friends. No, if you have a shitty opinion and your opinion directly negatively impacts my life and how I live it, hell no.
Anti-vaxxers.
Yeah, hell no, I don't want to be fucking friends with you. Not even that, you can take it further. If you're somebody who is a direct recipient of DACA, right? Do you guys know what DACA
Yeah,
is?
DACA is the, for those who don't know, it's a U.S. thing. It's basically immigrant children who were brought here out of their control by their parents when they were young. The government tries to help them get an education, get a job, stuff like that. Yeah.
And basically what Trump has done is he's trying, or I think he did successfully, get DACA repealed. So all those people who are now highly educated now, who immigrated here through education, lose their citizenship status and are going to get deported, right? So if you're a fucking dipshit who supports those kind of politicians and voted for politicians because you wanted to get rid of DACA, and you're talking to somebody who is a direct recipient of that and is going to be affected by that, hell fucking no, I'm not going to be friends with you. Because this is how I feel about it. The only people who say it's just politics or it's just an opinion are the people who are so privileged that politics really never does affect them. Right? Mm-hmm. If you're privileged enough to say that, it means that politics don't affect you because you come from a privileged class of people.
Yeah.
So fuck that shit, right? It's not just an opinion; it's real life.
Yeah, and I think
your vote impacts real people.
I think the important thing to realize is that, like, you know, even if somebody doesn't like something that you do, it doesn't mean, and obviously, you know, you should be self-aware. You should think about it, right? There are certain things that are bad that maybe people don't like, and maybe there's a good reason for it because it is actually harmful. But there are also a lot of things that, no, they're really not, right? So a great example, I know we all here earlier discussed that a kink that we don't like is sounding. But guess what? Do you think to somebody who's into sounding, they really are going to give a shit that we don't like it?
No, go for it, man.
Because you know what? It's them. It's their body. They're not harming anybody else. And so that's and even we are able to sit here and say that. So if we are able to sit here and say that, I think any reasonable person, any person that you should value, will be able to say, I'm not into that. But you know what? Go for it.
I'll go for it. Yeah.
You're
I mean,
you're into it. You do you.
I always
it's not
say,
my thing,
yeah.
but you know.
I always say go for it. Please be safe with it. Is what I
Yeah.
say, right? Because there are fetishes that people are into that like carry higher risk with them.
And there are people that have died from their fetishes because they haven't done it correctly.
Yeah, like I'll give an example. Something like fisting, right? Is carries with it higher risk and higher risk to bodily harm, right? I'm not gonna say don't do it. I'm gonna say please do it safely, right? Please be careful.
Yeah. Somebody asks, Modinen or
Modwin?
Oh, Maudwin.
Modwin. So Modwin asks, do you find that mursuiting has become necessary to find sexual pleasure, or does it merely enhance it?
No. For me, it doesn't do either.
Really?
Again, the only enhancement I get from mursuiting is the body heat.
I do know some people who literally cannot have sex without a suit now.
Oh, I know. That's very common.
I can get into this.
Go for it.
Go for it. Yeah.
So
This
like,
is you.
so like for me, like don't get me wrong, I like skin on skin, and I'm more of a smooth.
Fur does feel nice and comfortable.
And well, here's the thing, like I don't do body hair. I'm a hairy motherfucker. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm Italian and Ukrainian. You can get hairier than that, but that's
you're
pretty
sitting,
hairy.
You're sitting across from a Jewish male. I understand.
Exactly. But like, if you're a smooth skin, oh baby, I enjoy that, and I do enjoy looking at the fursuit head. But I also do enjoy like.
You should go fuck some scalies then.
See, that's the no. Oh no.
What about
scaly?
what about?
To me, I don't like the texture of like a scaly type.
I know.
I like smooth, and I'm gonna be a little bit racist here, like the Asian style skin, because it is smooth, it is hairless, it feels like a baby's bottom. Like it's not.
What about rubber and latex then?
So rubber and latex, I like the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
I do like seeing the form figure of a body in like a poodling type style, hand paws, head, tail, but latex. But the texture of somebody actually like rubbing against you during sex for it is not me. I don't like the grippiness of it.
Yeah.
When you're having sex with a fursuiter or a mursuiter, however you want to call it, I like the fact that if they're bending over you with your like legs over your head, that you can feel the fur and the softness rubbing up against you, and you're staring into the eyes of a character that is passionately
I don't
fucking
get that. See, I understand the texture of the fur, but it doesn't enhance it in a sexual way. It's just like, this is soft and it feels nice, right? Like the feeling of the fur, even during sex, is no more pleasurable or not pleasurable for a different reason than it is when I'm just cuddling a fursuiter. Like, it's just, this is soft and it's nice.
Yeah.
Right? And again, maybe it does enhance, like, because fur is warmer, so it enhances the heat thing for me, maybe a bit.
So for me, an interesting thing is I really like, this is going to sound weird, but I like cute stuff. And what I mean by that is like,
Oh my God.
a lot of people don't like the word yiff because they think it sounds dumb. But one thing
sounds
that,
cringy.
and it is a little cringy. But one thing that I like about it is it does, when you say the word yiff, it sounds like something that's cute and fun. And to me, that's kind of the way sex should be. And one of the appeals to furry for me is that although we are adults and although we are, like pretty mature in our build, we are still like willing to love cute things and hug and be like.
See, that's more of a like platonic joy for me. Than
It's a platonic thing, and to me, that's part of why I would appreciate like a mursuit as well, is because the idea that like, oh, like me and my like fox boyfriend, yay, like we're like it's cute and like we're having fun and like I love that ability to like gain the sexual pleasure, but also still keep it to be like cute and fun.
Yeah,
and that's a big part of it to me.
I agree with you 100%. That's exactly how I see it too. And I like the cute things. I like the fact that it's adorable, and it's a little bit more of a cartoon fantasy for me.
See, I can't relate to that aspect of it.
Well, like for me, like I grew up in a very conservative household, like, so anything that had to do with sex or like, my parents never even gave me the talk because it was a topic that they never wanted to touch on.
Oh God.
Like the fact that I said to my dad, hey, like how, because our doctor sold his practice. So I said, hey, how is this new doctor? Is he any good? I need to go for a blood test. My dad's like, oh, well, you haven't had a blood test in forever. You should get one. I'm like, well, no, I need to get tested anyway. So like, and he goes, well, tested for what? It's like, well, I'm going to get tested for STDs. And he's like, he looks at me and goes, what the fuck's an STD?
Oh,
and I'm
my
just
God.
like,
oh my God.
Shit.
I was like, a sexually transmitted disease. And he's like, oh, okay, you know, I don't want to hear anymore. Because
Oh,
my
it's the worst
dad.
reaction. Oh my
because
God.
the thing
That is
like,
the most like I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. That's the equivalent.
But that's the thing. Like my
No, that's not
parent.
even that. That is basically saying like, I'm your parent, and this is a really good moment where I should be a good parent, but I'm not gonna be.
But that's the thing.
That's what
Like
that
my
is.
parents grew up in a very conservative household, and the only person that you have sex with is your husband or your wife and your significant other. And you know what? I'm not gonna bash at them for that because they grew up in a way different time than we did.
well, to them
and
it was successful.
Exactly. And some of the things is it's harder for them to grasp because of the way they were raised. If you look at me and my insecurities and stuff like that, it's basically stemmed off of the way I was raised. And can I break these insecurities with the way society is now? Yes. And I really should. But the thing is, it's going to be a
Should
little
is
bit...
a very strong word. I think it is always good too, but I wouldn't want to put that requirement and expectation on your shoulders like that.
But
like,
the thing is I don't want to be the way I am in that aspect.
Sure.
Like I said, like me walking into the room and then you guys
that's
doing
you like
things.
pushing your boundaries
That's
and like
exactly like
gotcha.
I showered with somebody yesterday and that was
Yeah, how was that? Can you tell me about?
was
Can you share your experience with that? I'm actually curious.
My insecurities, like he said to me, he goes, "Are you okay right now?"
Isn't
and
that
I'm
great
like,
when people ask you?
and
I love when people ask that.
I have a story about that actually.
the respect that he showed to me, he's like, I'm not gonna jump on you and like start like wanting to like pursue anything with you because I know your situation, I know how you grew up. And we just had like a very meaningful conversation about our background and stuff like that. And it's pretty much what I'm gonna get into now with like being conservative and being very closed. Like
we had very different backgrounds.
the fact that I grew up like my mom found my fursuit and she like asked me if I was gay and at the like a while ago and I was just like I don't know because I didn't know how to answer it. Like it's a thing that's like I don't know if I'm gonna get disowned. My mother took it a lot harder. I thought my dad would disown me and my dad was just like okay and my mom was just like well like where did I go wrong raising you?
My mother
But
said the same
the
thing.
thing is-
It wasn't that she like wasn't approving it. It was she was worried. She was like, did I do anything wrong?
And that's the thing with my mom. My
See,
mom
parents,
doesn't.
The first place my parents went mentally is like, they didn't. Again, I will be forever thankful and grateful, and consider myself very lucky that when I was thinking about coming out, there's no fear in my mind that they would still love me or I would get kicked out or anything like that, which is I'm so grateful for. But to my parents, the first place their mind went is, fuck, the world is so much unsafer for you now. Right?
And that's what
the
my
first
mom
place
did
they
too.
started
My mom's
thinking.
like, "Oh, you're going out with these people. I don't know where you're going, and what do I do if you don't come home?" And
Call
like,
the police.
well, no, but that's the thing is like my mom doesn't want to see me go out because she still has the older mindset. First of all, like maybe your parents do a little bit as
They
well.
do,
as
they absolutely do.
You're gonna go out, and because you're gay, you're going to get murdered. Like that is the mindset that my parents.
I don't think my parents
have.
are like that. Like it's gonna. They just know, and they're correct that I am statistically in more danger, which
Exactly.
is true.
But also the thing is
Being a
too
bisexual
is like
person.
obviously and like I'm not gonna like bash on anybody here, but like I hang out with you, Skylar, and I hang out with Paradox, and if you looked at me and you said, would you literally look at me and go, he's gay because of the way I act?
Yes. I mean, okay.
but if
I said that jokingly. In truth, I don't.
You are a lot more straight passing than a lot of other people I know. That's the term you're looking for. Are you straight passing?
Yeah.
Your hair is dyed bright red. Like no.
Well, it fake. But like
Like-
if you look at like more of society nowadays, a lot of people have funky ass hair colors and
This is true. A lot of those people are also alternative people in society.
I would say it doesn't matter because I don't really care what somebody's sexuality is.
No, but that's not the question he's asking. He's asking if he's looking straight passing, right? Of course, we don't care.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's asking if to the average person, does he just appear gay at a distance?
And a lot of my coworkers, like for instance,
With the, I'm gonna say with the hair, yeah, the hair gives you away.
a little bit, yeah, and I would say it would definitely, but like even a lot of like my coworkers when they found out, they're like, "Oh, really? Like I would have never seen that." Now, to me, I'm not going to be the person that's going to do this. I would be like, "So what do you perceive as somebody being gay that would give it away?"
Oh yeah, of course. And by the way, I'm saying these things as like I'm thinking about how other people see these
Yeah.
things. Of course, I don't
Oh, yeah,
think
yeah.
that like just because somebody's hair is dyed red doesn't mean they're gay. I don't think like that. But I'm just
But
thinking
you
about,
know, and you know me personally,
And
so.
another thing, I also know how other society perceives certain things. Fuck, something I really want to talk about, but when we were on the topic of like discrimination, and there was something I wanted to bring up.
Being feminine.
No, that's later. But something that I want to talk about because we were talking about, if you don't mind if I switch it quickly.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
So
go ahead.
So when we were talking about like do we perceive any stigma, and I sort of touched on the idea of like
no, not really, because I don't put up with it kind of thing, right? I think, and this is what I've observed in my personal own life experience, so of course maybe it's not the same for everybody else, but projecting confidence scares away bigots in my view, and this is my experience with it.
I totally agree.
Oh yeah.
So, and the way I can compare this to is that whenever I teach makeup panels, because I like to I've done 2 makeup panels at 2 different cons now. They've both been really successful, and I'm as a male who wears makeup, not just for drag, but and as a person as well. The most common question I get asked is, have I ever been discriminated against, or have I ever been like assaulted verbally or physically for wearing makeup as a male? And I say the same thing every time. Is the only time I've ever been discriminated against for being a queer person was when I was on the subway with friends wearing no makeup, jeans, and a sweater. So figure that out, kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. And I've walked I don't have a fucking car. I don't have enough money to Uber everywhere. I do my drag makeup at home, and then I go and I get on the bus to go to my gigs, right? And I've never, and again, take this with a grain of salt because I live in downtown Toronto, which is perhaps the most progressive and liberal city in
North America.
In North America, absolutely. Yeah. So take it with a grain of salt. But I've never, ever had anybody say anything to me or look at... I've definitely had people give me looks, but they've never been funny looks. People either look twice or they'll look and they'll smile, which is nice. That's always nice to see that, right? Because I think that when a bigot looks at me in my face, what they think is, if this person's going out in full drag makeup, clearly they don't give a shit and they're not ashamed at all. So what's me saying anything to them going to change, right? Or do? They clearly are not going to be bothered by anything I say because they know they look weird, right?
Yeah, confidence is a big thing. Not only confidence, but just being vehemently yourself.
Exactly.
Is I think, powerful around others, yeah.
Do you think Duke Doberman gets any hate comments on his Twitter? No. Probably not.
Yeah.
Because he clearly does not give a shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is great. Yeah. And I love that. And I find that to be an attractive trait, honestly.
Absolutely. Confidence is so hot.
So, all right. In our last, well, we don't have to keep it fully strict, but in our last 10, there's two topics we want to talk about. The one that we just mentioned. Yes. But first, so obviously, maybe there's some negative stigma, but, we don't necessarily have to worry about it. You can be surrounded by the right people, and we know that we're not being harmful with it.
Build your own community.
Build your own community. Yeah. But, when you think of negative stigma, sometimes there is negative stigma against certain fetishes, especially if those fetishes could be covering up trauma. And I know you wanted to discuss that a little bit, because you think that although the fetish isn't bad, and maybe the fetish is harmless, it could be rooted in things.
So this is something I want to make clear. I don't want to sound really arrogant when I say this, but whenever I bring up these kind of topics, it is kind of important to me that people understand my background, because it does make me more of an authority than the average person talking about these kinds of things. Sorry, Derr's taking a picture. He's taking a selfie in the middle of the cast. Not talking about a serious issue, because he's a fucking millennial.
You know what? Fuck off. I'm not Arctic. I don't take pictures of my food, at least.
Oh my God, the same fucking cabinet. BRB getting ramen with these people.
10 minutes later, picture of my ramen.
That's why I didn't follow you on Instagram. There's no ramen pictures. Oh, come on! You have.
I didn't follow you on Instagram.
Fursuits, beautiful landscapes, urban exploration, all boring, man. Come on, I want some ramen. Get it in there.
No, give me them bacon pics, dude.
Where's my fucking chow mein? I want it.
Bacon.
Anyway,
okay. So here's the thing: is that I often bring this topic up with people, and they're like, "No, I don't think anything like that," and then I'll often say "Well, yeah, but I know more than you, and also I can tell you that your development affects what you're into when you're older. So this is so I know that's a whole other topic where I find it very frustrating. Where my field of expertise is psychology, because it seems to be the one field where everyone thinks that they can meet somebody who is an authority figure and they can just disagree with them. If I was a physicist and I taught you something, no one would dare say, I don't think that's how that works. I don't agree with that, right?
Right.
But psychology seems to be the one field where everyone's has their own expert opinion and they don't actually respect authority figures on it.
Yeah.
Which is very frustrating. But so again, like I said, I've specialized in development and I study development. And we know that the experiences you have when you're younger affect your interest, your temperament, everything about your personality as you grow up, and the things that you like and you don't like. And I get concerned, and because I see this a lot in the furry fandom,
that, and again, this is not a golden rule. There are people who are into these kinds of things who don't have trauma and don't have like, some big thing that they're covering up. But like, I get concerned that when I see people engage in like extreme fetishism, that you're doing that because you're trying to make up from some kind of lax period in your life, a period where you didn't get this kind of attention or something like that. And instead of actually going and seeing a professional and trying to work through your issues, you're kind of covering it up with a fetish and getting through that way, which again is not always a bad thing. I want to make it clear, there's nothing wrong with the fetish itself. It's the motivation behind it. That's the issue.
So do you have any examples?
Yes. So for example, people who are into very extreme domination and submission, like BDSM. And again, there can be different reasons. And again, I don't want to say don't do these things. What I want to encourage is, if you are into this, please ask yourself why you're into it. If you don't know why you're into something, try to figure it out. Introspect. Talk to people. Talk to a professional, whatever it is, right? Like, I think you should know why you like the things you like and why you don't like the things you don't like. I think that's very important for everything in life. I think it's very important for your political opinions too.
Yeah.
Why do I hold this political opinion? Why does it make me feel good to think this way, right? So like, we'll bring up submission as an example. So there's people there's different levels of BDSM, and there's people who are into like very extreme, like they want to be completely dominated, and sometimes they want their consent violated and things like that, right? Or they want to be beaten up or whatever it is. And again, not necessarily a bad thing, right?
Right.
But one of the first things I think, because there's patterns of this that we can observe, is that when you are into something like that, there's an increased likelihood that you experience some kind of related trauma when you're younger, right? So if you're really into having your consent violated, and that's a fetish for you, did that happen to you when you were younger? Did you have your consent violated in a way that was not healthy?
What about and I hate saying this because again, when we talk about this, we should be very clear. We're not trying to be judgmental against the kink.
No, not at all.
We're just saying, like, think about where it comes from.
Please think about where it comes from.
So a great example, I think, that we talked about earlier was off mic was like having a daddy, like a
yes. Oh, that's a very good example. So people who are into ABDL, which if I can remember what the acronym stands for,
adult AAB adult
baby
DL diaper. Something.
Yeah. It stands for. So for all the furries listening, like a related thing is like baby furs.
Adult baby diaper lover.
There you go. That's what it is. Again, there are many people, many of us, who did not have who were lax in their parental figures growing up, in more minor ways, but some people in very extreme ways, and that you didn't have a proper father figure, you didn't have a proper mother figure because whatever the situation was, which is sad and it sucks. And a lot of people make up for that. If you never had any kind of father figure, because a lot of people adopt a father figure, like their uncle becomes their father figure, something like that.
Yeah.
But if you never had that at all growing up, you are going to want to make up for that in as an adult, which is fine, right? It is fine to make up for that and find an older person who can mentor you and you feel comfortable talking about and you feel that kind of connection with. Mm-hmm. But where I think where it becomes an issue is that if you have that figure and you're trying to make up for that lack of development when you're younger, and you're also sleeping with that person, I don't consider that any different from if when you're actually like a child and your actual parent sleeps with you, because it's still the same person taking advantage of that underdeveloped part of your brain, right?
Really?
It's
so you think that's
yes,
interesting? So
yes.
The same underdeveloped part of the brain.
Right. So because if you haven't had, if you're trying to make up those aspects and you're trying to have that father figure as an adult or that mother figure, whatever it is, right? You are going to, when you're around that person, you are going to mentally regress in some way, not in a bad way. You're going to be more, because you didn't have it, you're going to act like more of a child around them and want to be
because you have a desire to be vulnerable
exactly,
to an adult.
Right?
Yeah.
And taking advantage of that kind of vulnerability is not great. If you're going to make up for that father figure, have them treat you like a parent-child relationship.
Yeah.
Which is you don't have sex with that person, and they guide you and they give you advice and they talk to you like a parent and child does, right? You have that parent-child reaction. Make up for it in that way. Beautiful, lovely. But why don't add sex to it? Because you would not add sex to a quote-unquote normal parent-child relationship.
I'm not sure. I get where you're coming from there. But I'm not sure if I agree with it, because I think I think the facets of the relationship can be whatever they need to be, and if sex is a part of that and it enhances it, because I see, I mean, personally for me, I see sex as an intimacy tool, certainly something that is perhaps a safety concern, especially for somebody who's younger. I think if you are, if you're 24 and you enjoy having a father figure relationship and it is sexual. With another person who's not your father, I don't see. I think knowing where it comes from, and I think being aware of maybe what you might need that isn't just covering it up with. I think that's the most important thing: is don't cover up the trauma with a fetish.
My main issue with it is the schema that will be developed in your mind surrounding these kinds of relationships. And for those of you who haven't studied psychology, a schema is essentially it's a psychological term for, how do I just explain schema? It's the best way to describe what schemas are is schemas are where stereotypes come from. So if you had certain interactions with a certain type of group of people, it's how we categorize everything. As human beings, we have to categorize things to just live throughout life, and we have to generalize.
Schema is also an IT term.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like when you.
So I was talking to one of my roommates who works in IT, and he was telling me about all these terms and explaining to me, and I was like, yeah, I know what that is. It comes from psychology. And he's like, what, really? I'm like, yeah. Like you guys have a lot of terms that are borrowed from psych.
So psych and psychology and philosophy both.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff. Schema is when you have a big building with a lot of computers and you label them, you might put different labels for different departments.
Yes.
And you might have a scheme where...
Schemas are mental labels for groups of things or people.
So sales-PC-20 and sales-PC-21, that would be your schema.
So what I worry about is that if this is the only granted, that little tidbit, that little asterisk is very important. If this is the only parent-child relationship or like father-son relationship, father-daughter, whatever it is, or mother-son relationship that you've ever had, even as an adult, and the schema you put on that is this kind of relationship should also be sexual, the precedent that sets for you is dangerous because you have now, in your mind, these kinds of relationships should include sex as well. And we know how that can turn bad when you take that schema into other similar relationships that you will have in your future.
Okay, that's interesting. So you don't think it's that you can't do it or shouldn't, it's more that you should be careful. You should think about it.
Yes, you should be careful. Again, it is a wonderful, beautiful thing when somebody is lacking in that kind of parental figure growing up and they make up for it in adulthood. That's wonderful, right? That is one of the best ways to work through that kind of trauma is you adopt like a real father figure or a real mother figure because you've lacking one, right? I just don't think you should add sex to that. Because
it's interesting.
Because again, if you're trying to make up for that, it should be what a quote unquote normal or average parent-child relationship should be.
Maybe. Okay. I'm still not sure if I feel that. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm not sure what to think about that.
So it's just that's just I mean and again like I'm not saying that and again the problem is that like we don't have any kind of scientific consensus on these things because these things are very hard to study and also very controversial to study. So we don't really have concise studies on this. But I'm going to appeal to my own authority here is that looking at everything else we know about development, it is very reasonable to conclude that these things will affect you in negative ways.
I don't know. I still don't know if I feel that. I just know I know people who are in very age different type relationships who feel very strongly.
Just because they're age different doesn't mean that necessarily it's that kind of thing.
Right, but I know a few people who are though, where like it's definitely a father figure making up for like my one friend who parents divorced very young, stuff like that, and now he has a kind of a daddy, I guess you could call it.
Sure.
And I know that they are sexual and they love it. So I don't know. I mean, I think.
Oh, I'm not saying you don't love it. I'm just saying, like, listen. Just because it may be bad for you mentally doesn't mean you don't enjoy it. Of course not.
But right? I still don't.
I love fast food. Doesn't mean it's good for me.
Right. But I still. What I'd like to say though is, can we not conclude that it is mentally bad, but more that there's a risk that it's mentally bad? I think it's all about a safety thing, right? Like.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I feel like they could be happy long term that way.
Yes, and
not only
again,
that,
like,
but.
This is the thing that I wanted people to understand when we talked about this is that, and this is one of the things that's so hard to have this conversation about, is that people think that when I say these things, I'm saying it's like a golden rule. And no,
I just don't like absolutes, and I don't like people either saying these kinks are all wholly bad and they're terrible and they're disgusting. But I also don't like the other end of the spectrum where it's like, no, they're totally fine. There's nothing wrong with them at all, and it's totally safe. And I'm like, no, like,
It's in the
please
middle,
consider why you do the things that you do and do things that you do safely, please.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I remember I got into this really big argument with he's not even a friend anymore. I really don't like this person. But I got into this really big argument with somebody once because they were talking about how they want to get into fisting. And I was like, okay, cool, just be safe kind of thing. He's like, it's pretty safe, it's fine. I'm like, well, no. It's like statistically, like, there's a higher risk. And they say, no, if you do it properly.
It can be
and
very
things
body
like,
damaging.
Exactly. And he's just like so casual, like, no, it's fine, it's safe. And I'm like, no, like, again, I'm not saying don't do this, but like, it's not. Like, it is a higher risk of sex than just having a penis in your butt. Like, what are you talking about? Right. And then I even went and I looked up studies on it because I have access to the research databases because I'm a master's graduate. And I looked up and I'm like, here's the study that says there's very clear writing that says that you're at higher risk for this thing. Saying, whatever. And I was like, you fucking kidding me? Like, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying acknowledge. And I really, really, really irritates me that there's so many people do this where they think because they like something or because they think it's true, they can't acknowledge any downsides to it at all. Like, it's very similar to like healthcare in your country, right? In America, right?
Right.
Like, lots of people here, they'll make the argument for like that they want.
Oh
like,
no, Americans are absolutely socialist. They just don't like to think that they're socialist.
No, not that. Like conservative Americans, like they don't want socialized healthcare because they think about it and like, oh, private healthcare is good. It does this and that, and then it's like, well, no, but like privatized healthcare does have like damages to it, or like people will be really big capitalists. And again, I think that capitalism is a better example, right? Where, again, I'm not necessarily a socialist. But I can acknowledge the problems with capitalism, right? You can be a capitalist and acknowledge there's issues with it. And there's so many people that I argue with that I'm like, capitalism does this and this and this. And it's like, no, it doesn't really. No, that's bullshit. Kind of. And I'm like, you think your system's perfect? Just because you like it doesn't mean that it's flawless.
Yeah.
Like, and you can like a thing and still admit that there's flaws with it.
It's
it's like me. Like, I like conservative. People, I've been fucking ripped over the coals because I'm just like, I voted conservative. And they're just like, well, why would you do that? And it's like, well, here's the thing.
Keep in mind, when he says voted conservative, he means...
Oh, Canadian conservative is very different.
What is
very different, yeah.
Canadian conservative is like...
You gotta be careful with the word. I always say left or right because it's...
So conservative in Canada is like Democrat here in the States.
Yeah. It's just to let people know.
But I also have a little bit of a different outlook on it, but obviously I understand that it can be very detrimental to everything because a lot of people that vote conservative or are conservative are fucking idiots and they're all money hungry.
It depends on why you're voting. Like what do you consider is more important? Like, for example, I think it's a perfectly valid argument to say like, yeah, I acknowledge that socially conservatives bring us back a lot further, but I think fiscal responsibility is more important at this juncture in time than social progression.
At different times.
And I'll be like, okay, that's very reasonable. If you think that's more important, that's
it's self-awareness.
Totally fine, right?
Self-awareness is hot.
Yeah,
it is.
It absolutely.
So
is
I have
hot.
two things. So one of them is, and it relates to the whole idea of nothing's really perfect, right? Mm-hmm. I always say to people when I'm intimate with them, and if you're ever intimate with me, this is going to happen, I guarantee you. I always say
come on,
this.
fans, go fucking send them all the dick pics.
Oh, I snuggle with a lot of my fans.
Oh, wow. It's that kind of show now, isn't it?
I do. But what I always say is this. I always say,
I'm going to eat my mega stuffed Oreo as he talks about snuggling with fans.
Okay.
Snuggle your mega stuffed Oreo.
I always say, and people get weirded out by this, but I was talking to you about this earlier. I always say to people, hey, I really enjoy this. You seem to really enjoy this. I love this.
So sweet.
I love this fling that we have where we're like having sex. Come on, I'm serious here.
I know. No, I know. Yeah. I like it.
I'll say like, hey, I'm really glad we enjoy this, but I just want you to know that if you suddenly wake up a couple weeks from now, a month from now, a year from now, and you are second-guessing yourself, you're second-guessing your relationships, you're second-guessing whether I'm good for you or not. Like, I'm glad that you think I make you feel good now, but I always want you to think about that. Do I really make you feel good? And if there's ever a day where I don't, it's fine. Like, don't get me wrong. I will be sad that you're walking up to me saying, hey, I can't, be close to you or whatever. But I will understand you are valid to feel that way. You have every right to decide what is best for you. That is not for me or anybody else to tell you. You constantly need to reevaluate what is best for you, and it will change over time.
You have a beautiful understanding
and
of
people
consent.
And people are like, what? I don't get it. Why are you telling me this? And I'm like, because I have to. I'm like, I have to say this because it is like, I need to make sure that the people
I do
I'm
a very
with
similar thing when I'm doming people. Is that if I'm doing it because I'm a very mental dom, I'm very verbal, and that's how I usually do it. And but if I'm doing it by like text or face to face, it doesn't matter. As soon as it gets into that realm, as soon as it starts progressing to that kind of dom stuff, I will send pretty much like a form message at this point. I say it the same way every time. Is that I'll say like, hey, just so you know, everything that I say to you is only within the realms of sex and fantasy. I value and respect you as a human being. You should value and respect yourself and expect others to treat you the same.
Yeah.
Right? Like I will always say that to everybody because I want. And I also say like if I ever do or say something that makes you uncomfortable or you don't like, feel free to tell me immediately or tell me to stop or use a safe word.
or if you decide it's uncomfortable later. And I say that to people too. I'm like, I'm really glad because I've noticed some people.
Just because they said they like it once, like yeah.
Or they like it in the moment, but then later they realize that they didn't like it.
Yeah.
Maybe they felt a little violated, or
Yeah.
maybe and I always say to people, listen, like that is a valid thing.
Yep.
And do not fear if you come up to me later and you're like, hey, like, I'm glad we tried that, but I realized afterward I kind of don't know if I want to do that again.
Yeah.
That is absolutely fine. And it's not something to feel bad about.
And I have a situation where I was at a friend's place and there was some like kinky things going on and so there was some shit that I was involved in, and I look back at it now and I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about what I did that night, and I don't think I would ever do it again because just to me it wasn't something I wanted to do, and being as close as I am, I worried about it too much, and I'm just like. Well, and like you start to overthink things for me. Like I start thinking, oh fuck, people are gonna know, people are gonna talk about it, people are gonna be like, oh, this guy's a slut, and it's kind of funny because there's one person in the Toronto group area that didn't realize the way I felt because I never verbalized it, and they would call me a slut all the time.
Oh, and you don't
I'm
like
sure
being called a slut, yeah.
And I'm just like,
I
but
hate
that's not me. But I know he's joking about it because I know his personality, and I think he thought that I knew he was joking as well. But it got to a point where I was just like, okay, like this is me, this is what I am. And the comment that I got back was, you don't need to have sex to be a slut, and like we already know like how you are. But when we actually talked about it, he apologized and he goes, "I didn't realize that it made you feel that way. Like I was just joking." And like we're on the same level now. And he realized like, hey, like I know you're not like this. And he realized after that it bothered me. But that's the thing with me. I don't show emotion when it comes to stuff like that. I've grown up in a very emotionless family. Like I've never seen my mom cry.
Oh my god,
Never.
I'm such the opposite. We are so. I come from such like a. It's so funny. This is something that I often think about a lot too, is that like I notice that I'm very different from a lot of furries. Like I'm not really like the kinkiest person, and like I'm not really into sex and suits and things like that. But I often think like, is that because like I'm not trying to like make up for anything, or like I'm not trying to like I don't feel shame. I've never felt shame about sex. I was raised very, very sex positive.
You know what I love is I've seen this happen, and I'm sure other people can relate. Where like somebody grows up very sheltered and very,
and then they
explode when they really. And then there's other people where like my one friend grew up and his parents made sex jokes constantly. They were totally out there. They were like his parents would like to talk about King, and then he came out and he's like the most normal, average, successful person that I know.
No, that's literally me.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm like too. Because growing up, my parents never shamed. And again, keep in mind, my parents are in their 60s too, and they were like, and I'm 25.
Yeah.
So they're like very progressive for their age, and they always want to make sure like if you have any questions, you always come home and you ask us. Like if you have like anything you want to know about, my parents will talk about anything with me. I feel comfortable asking them any questions that I'm unsure about. Or like when I was growing up, like I would often come back and like, Dad, I heard this word. What does it mean? People were like talking about this, and he would explain it to me and tell me.
Oh, see, I can't do that in my house.
So
no, I was
even
always
now
like
I can't do that.
I was always very sex positive, and like again, like my parents know, like, not my entire, but like for example, like if I start dating somebody, my parents know. like that I'm dating somebody, because I'll tell them. Also, my mom can fucking tell. Like, I'll go on one date and come home and then like talk to them over Skype, and then she's like, "You were at a date last night, didn't you?" And I'm like, "God damn," because I'm just like, I have such a like a readable face. But no, like I share my whole life with my parents all the time. I'm very, very close with them.
Oh no, see, if I
And
was
I'm
dating,
glad that I'm like that.
if I was dating somebody, I feel like I wouldn't be able to tell my parents.
That sucks.
I
dude.
feel like, because I've had comments, and I don't mean to be like bashing on anybody here, but like having somebody in your house say, "Oh, like I don't mind if you're dating somebody, but I wouldn't want to see you like sitting on my couch holding hands, or I wouldn't want to see you guys kiss each other." And
My parents
blah.
expect if my parents don't see that, they'll come up to me like, "Hey, like, is your relationship like, are you okay?" Like,
The thing is too is like,
Are you happy?
like with my parents, like yeah, they don't want to see that, but to be fair, I don't think they'd want to see that with my sister and her boyfriend. Wow, I can't talk to
oh,
her
so
boyfriend.
you're saying it's
In general,
because
but
they
I think
don't like watching sex, not anything to do with you being gay.
No, well, I have a feeling that does play into it because my mom is still very uncomfortable with the fact that I am, and I think she's never gonna fully like grasp it. And she has told me this that she won't. And you know what? As bad as it is, I respect her decision and how she feels. I am me, and it's not gonna change who I am.
Of course.
I'm not leading my life based on how they want me to. If they're not going to accept it, and it's going to eventually with me leaving and never talking to them again, then so be it. I don't want that to happen. I want to be able to have a relationship with my family, but it could come to that. And I mean, like I'm trying to pursue a different career. It's very hard, especially living in Canada, to find any job that pays half decent.
Yeah.
I'm looking at moving to the States, and if I move to the States, I think it's going to be an eye-opener for both of us to say, shit.
Yeah, you
We
need,
had
you
two
need that
people-
distance sometimes.
But I think it's also going to be oh my God, we're both not seeing each other. We grew up with each other, and it's going to be very depressing. But I think I think and I hope it would change our relationship with each other and how we feel about each other, having the distance.
Distance typically does do that. It's been very hard me being far away from my parents because we already had a really good, close relationship. But again, it's also been so good for me as well because it's allowed me to spread my wings. And like, if I hadn't moved away from Grenada, I never would have gone into drag. I never would have explored my queerness and my gender expression more. You know, and I'm so much happier and so glad that I did all those.
So another thing I want to tie this all into with, is something good, is something bad? What about what people say? What about judgment? What about whether you feel good or whether you feel bad? Is social media. People say the same thing about social media. Is it good? Is it bad? And I think the key.
We have a lot of studies about this.
The key to all of this, and I think this should be the general takeaway. If anybody, if you take away anything from listening to this episode, I think it should be this: self-awareness, and that is. The kinds of people you surround yourself with, the way the social media is built. So is it algorithm based? Is it sequential? What kinds of people you're surrounding yourself with? Not only whether it's an echo chamber, what it's showing you. And I feel like there are very healthy ways, and it's not necessarily the amount, right? Because some people go, oh, well, you just need to limit your time. I don't know if it's about time. I think it's more about the way you perceive what it does in your life. And the way that you use it and whether it connects you to things in real life. Because some people use social media as an escape. Some people use it to vent their emotions. Some people use it as a replacement for something that's missing in their life, maybe something social, maybe something physical. And I think it's important to, like you said, where does it come from? This kink that you have. I think it's the same thing with stuff like social media.
Please ask that question of most things in your life. And I find people that don't do that. I encourage anybody to introspect more, look inward, and ask yourself questions as why, right? Why do I like this? People don't do that. And I think people don't do it a lot of time because, especially with kink, I think they're afraid of the answer. I think they're afraid of knowing think about why they do something.
Yeah.
Or why they like a certain thing. Like, I don't know. And again, I'm not a super kinky person. I'm more like into like gratifying the other person. It's like, that's my biggest kink is like I just want to do what makes somebody else feel good makes me feel so good. Right. I mean, like, I also love like, for example, I know why I like being submissive and why I like being dominant, right?
Yeah.
I love being submissive because I'm a very like anal, like in control person. And I'm like, because of like my like growing up with like ADHD and autism, like I spent a lot of my life trying to get in control of my own brain. And to this point now where I'm very controlled and like everything I say and do is very, very maintained and very thought through. So it's lovely just to be able to just let go of all that and just give the power to somebody else. And it's very relaxing to me, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's so relaxing to just let somebody else, like, just like have control of my body instead of me trying to keep it in all the time. And then like the reason I like dominating people is because I love like I love solving the sexual puzzle of like figuring out what makes somebody react, right? It's like getting the thrill out of like doing you know like, do you ever play Portal?
When you figure out buttons.
Not just that, but like have you played Portal?
Yeah, I
right?
love Portal. Yeah.
And you know that sense of satisfaction that you get when you figure out the level and you beat it?
Yeah.
It's like that to me. Where I'm like, oh yes, I made you react. And especially when people say things to me
Or which
like,
order to do things
like,
in, or
like,
how fast.
oh, nobody's ever done that to me before. It feels so good. I'm like, yes! Oh! Like,
Yeah.
like, oh, it feels so good.
I love that too, and I've definitely done that with people where like I'll like dominate them in a certain way, and they're like really like, oh my god, like nobody's ever made me feel this way, and it's like, yes, so good,
the best feeling.
so good. But I think what was I gonna say? I love hearing people, and this is gonna sound funny because it's gonna sound like I'm in a judgmental way, but I'm just gonna say this. Okay, here we go. I love hearing people explain fetishes I don't understand.
Yeah, it's
and I don't
interesting.
mean that in like a joking way. I mean it in like
No, it's interesting.
For instance, I don't understand regular vor, right? And what I mean by that is like I love when I hear people explain, oh, well, it means this to me, and I like it because it's like a submission thing, and it's like, and I love hearing why they like it, even though I don't like vor and I don't really quite get it. It's adorable to me in a weird way. It's like, I just love knowing that it's cute, like hearing people.
I have to this day never heard anybody explain, and we have so many. I'm looking at Derr. We have so many friends that are into latex and rubber, and like I've still yet to hear it explained to me in a way that makes sense. Like I keep asking people, like, what is it about it? What is it about this a turn on? Like, oh, it's smooth and the fabric's nice. And I'm like, yeah, I like fabrics too, but I don't like beat off to, you know what I mean? I don't understand.
I think it's you're conforming that smoothness to the body anatomy of a person, and their shape becomes what that material is.
Oh.
And like for me, like so Av.
I'm not into it, by the way. I'm
No,
just
but that
assuming.
makes sense though.
So
Yeah.
Av threw me in latex one time, and it like obviously
You said threw you in latex. I'm just imagining him
obviously-
throwing you into latex.
obviously I'm like really tiny compared to everybody in our
You're
in
small.
our group.
Let's
So
be clear. You're small.
Small boy.
I'm very
small
small.
boy.
And even like the
I'm
smallest
a
person,
giant Amazonian
Wait,
woman.
how tall are you, by the way?
me,
Yeah,
5'5".
5.
So okay, so sorry. Before you start, I need to say as well.
That's
we're
It's
in.
165
So
centimeters.
we
I'm fucking short. My
So-
driver's license says 163.
I don't know
It's
what's
off by
up.
an inch.
I don't know what's up with everybody in your fucking household, but I look like a fucking monster next to all of you. I'm not even that tall. I'm 5'11", right?
Yeah.
But where I was standing when we were doing the podcast yesterday, whenever I stood up next to any of you, I look like a fucking Amazonian monster.
You know how good I felt when you weren't standing behind me because I actually looked tall in his camera, and then you stood beside me and like,
And,
well,
like,
fuck you
tiny
too.
as shit. Like,
All right, so jumping back to you were talking about latex.
Oh, so Av threw me in it, and obviously, like, it was a little baggy on me, just a tiny bit.
yeah, because Av's got that dad gut.
Oh no, he gave me like one of the smallest ones that he doesn't even fit into. Like,
Oh, wow.
like it's like beyond. I think he
Sorry,
I think he said he
Av-
bought it, and it was way too small for him.
Av, I'm not shaming your dad gut. I love it. Your body's beautiful.
I love Av. Yeah. I love everything about him. He's
Av is one of my favorite
fucking
people.
hilarious.
Yeah, he is.
But like it was tight, and I like tight clothing. I like tight things against me, and I felt the pleasure that they get out of it because I enjoyed how it felt against my skin, and I like things that are tight.
Okay.
But it also I like the aesthetic of it on other people. But I like the shape of people's bodies. And I like because latex, because of how tight it is, it shows off the like pure shape and any. And
it
I don't mean to
covers
be
up
rude.
these skin impurities.
Any little imperfection. So like a small little
Oh.
like don't get me wrong. Like if I'm standing up, yeah, I'm skinny as fuck. Don't get me wrong. And some people say, oh, you have a really nice body, but you know I have slight rolls.
That
and
makes
when you go
sense.
into like latex, those rolls disappear.
So that
And
makes sense. So you get that perfect body figure.
Yeah.
And you see that every aspect of that person's curves without any of like the skin imperfections.
And the thing is
That
too
makes
is with
sense.
the latex, depending on how custom you get with it, you can bring it to a color that you desire that you wish your body looked like.
Hot pink. Give me a hot pink suit.
I could
wanna look,
see
I wanna
you
look
in it.
neon pink, dude.
I could see you doing
Give me that
but, like,
neon pink cat suit. Fuck
but
yeah.
I like that like some suitors and I'm gonna go back to like the fursuit like fetish thing here too because I love suitors. I love the characters. I think some of them are really hot, like made for you. Yeah.
All the made for you ones?
Well, a lot of them are really sexy, except Dat.
Fuck you, Dat. Fuck you.
Yeah, the only thing Dat's good for is he knows where the love goes. No, I'm
Shut
kidding.
the fuck up.
I love you, Dat. I love you. You're fucking great. I love like even going to Urbex.
You're a dangerous driver. I hate being in the car with you.
I'm apparently safe, just so you know, Dat.
Yeah, he's
no,
a
but
safer
like,
driver.
like made for you or what is it? One for all? Like,
Yeah.
What does Pharaoh have? That
One for all, yeah.
Those suits, like they just give you that glaring. But like if you
The
see
fuck me eyes? The
if you
fuck me
see a
eyes?
suitor peeling back their fur so you see their upper body and you see the curve of their body, but the latex is the same color scheme as the fur, that is just fucking hot.
Really?
Like bend me over a fucking like bathtub and just fucking bang me. Like goddamn.
Oh, right, bathtub because you're short as fuck. That's
You know,
why.
and can
I was
I
gonna
just say
say, how
that,
do you bend over a bathtub but you're short?
This is going to sound weird to people, but fur...
To believe it or not, hold on 1 second. Don't mean to cut you off, but like bending me over the bathtub, my knees still don't touch the floor.
I hate you.
So anyway, so what I was going to say is, this is going to sound weird, but what you said about latex, a lot of that actually applies to fur. Not necessarily fur suits, but just like the idea of an anthro, like think of like an anthro wolf, right? In a weird way, and people always say, oh, well, we always draw anthro creatures to look perfect. But in a lot of ways, I feel like fur, even when I see like, not obese, but like a more...
Dad bod?
like a dad bod type of like a, well, imagine like a wolf or like a cheetah that's like a, you know, kind of big belly or something. It still looks better than it would with skin.
Yeah.
Because the fur is still nice and soft, and it's that kind of
Should we be worried about that?
what?
I'm just thinking about that now. You're describing a lot of like the purity of the skin and things like that, and like to me that kind of screams like that kind of goes into body shaming in a little bit actually. Like, and again, this is me like always thinking about like where does it come from kind of thing, right? Is like maybe I don't see that personally because like I feel like we should embrace the way human beings actually look. Like isn't a big thing that people complain about with pornos or like professionally done pornos is that like teenagers are getting a false sense of like what a real human woman actually looks like. Right. And isn't this kind of the same thing that like if you're putting somebody in latex because you want to see the smoothness and without any the skin imperfections, well, no, you need to learn to love like what a real body looks like. Nobody's body has no scars or zip marks on it or anything like, you know what I mean?
Well, like I'll and I understand where you're coming from, but I'm going to use an example, and I don't mean to call you out, Xerxes, but you know, like. Under the suit, I know that you're fairly built, and I'm not into built people. I don't like I'm not saying I don't like you, but it's not
like
my
skinny
thing.
people.
You don't
I
like the abs, yeah.
I like the skinny femboy type body, but if you had somebody like Xerxes in his suit with the like the fur type
The fake,
abs,
the
and
dog abs.
fuck me, like just bend me over and fucking rail me, like. I don't know what it is about the character versus the body under the suit. It's just like...
Wait a minute. Wait. You love like skinny, like feminine male bodies, but then you were telling me before that you're not turned on by drag queens.
I don't see, but that's the thing is like me. I'm not attracted to anything that has to do with like makeup. Like,
Okay,
that's just my
this
thing.
goes really well into the topic that we want to talk about.
Okay.
And I personally like, and don't like I'm gay. I don't like the woman aesthetic sexually.
This goes so well into the topic I want
So
to talk about.
for me, like I like guys and I like the skinny flamboyant type guys, but no offense, and I don't mean to be rude to anybody, as soon as you throw makeup on or anything that kind of covers your true look, that bothers me.
But you just say how much you love latex and rubber for that exact reason because it covers up your true look.
But like if you're talking about like skin and face. Like I don't know what I'm trying to get at here. Like I like latex and I like.
I think I know what he's trying to say. It has to do with what direction the gender expression is going as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There. That is like
Yeah.
exactly how I was trying to say it.
Like a
I need to go
male
into this topic.
a male who's driving a little bit more feminine, but is still masculine, right?
Yes.
Okay, so like I'll put this as a joking example, but I don't like when you're gay, having sex with another male, and somebody calls it a boy pussy, or like or
Ass
anything like
pussy.
that. Or yeah, to me that like
I'm
that
kind of
bothers
into
me.
that. I'm kind of into
You're
that.
kind of into that.
Well,
so anyway,
not,
so I'll
like
let,
super
I'll let,
into, but it's
I
like
make
kinda,
ass pussy jokes.
so I'll let you jump in and then we'll call it a show.
Okay, so this is a topic that I really want to cover because I think it's so important. It's something that actually directly affects my life and my love life. Ever since I got into makeup and starting into makeup, and then especially drag as well. Drag is like a whole other issue. Like it's very difficult to date, and like any drag queen knows that it's very difficult to date when you do drag because in general the main reason is because in general one, a lot of people like are like Derr and they're not into that. A lot of gay men aren't into like that kind of aesthetic of a person.
Yeah.
And then another thing is that where you like if the entire queer community knows you because you're a drag queen and you're on stage, right? So like big section of your dating the big section of your dating pool knows you as this character. If they do want to date you, it's a big problem because they're having feelings for a character, for a persona.
A lot of fursuiters talk about this, the idea of like people who
They're
kind
interested
of-
in the suit, but they don't care about the person at all.
or not that they don't care about the person, but like
They have a false idea.
They're falling in love with more of a character and
Yes,
less of who the person,
exactly.
which doesn't apply to all fursuiters,
And it's
obviously.
very
but-
frustrating because people will like really be attracted to you in drag and like want to date you. And then you'll go on a date with them and there'll be no chemistry at all because you're a human person and you're not like this like lewd or like really super hyper confident like drag queen on stage making all these jokes and like working the room and things like that. So it's very hard just dating in drag in general. But I've noticed being a man who likes wearing makeup destroys my relationship prospects. And it's so frustrating for me because I want to express myself. And again, I've talked about this before on my channel. And I swear to God, if you're going to leave a comment that says, well, just don't do it, please click off the show now because you clearly have no idea.
I don't think anybody's going to do that.
Because you have the only idea how often I see this comment whenever I try to talk about this or how often people say this to me.
Really? Okay.
Yes. If I'm going to say now, if you think that like a certain aspect to your personality, which is healthy and helps you be happy with yourself and express yourself, if it minimizes your relationship prospects and your solution to that is, I'm going to stop doing this thing, you need to value yourself and your personality a lot better and like what things that you like about yourself. Okay. You should never have to change yourself to try to like attract somebody. Somebody should want you for who you are.
And that's why I wouldn't say don't be a mursuiter. I would say
Exactly.
be careful who you surround yourself
Yes.
with instead.
Yes.
Be who you are. Don't let people shame you into not doing what you like.
Yeah.
Right? And that's exactly how I feel with this kind of stuff is that I notice that people are far less interested in me. And I'm very aware of how I'm perceived socially and how people look at me and things like that. I will often get, when I wear makeup and I go out with friends and things like that, or just any people in general, I will often always get comments about how like, wow, well, you look so pretty. Like, this is so nice. You did this really well, things like that. But the comments will never, ever range into like anything that's remotely like flirting. People will make aesthetic compliments, but you can tell that they're not at all interested in me. Right?
Right.
Which is, again, I'm not like tooting my own horn and saying everyone has to be attracted to me, right? But when you notice the difference from when you are wearing makeup to versus when you're not, right? Like you notice the difference, whereas people will flirt with you more when you're not wearing makeup and things like that. And I think this sort of, it's all wrapped into like the way that we like demonize femininity in our society. And especially the way we demonize and we discourage males from embracing their femininity. Which again is wrapped into our attraction, how we're attracted to people.
Yeah,
And-
this definitely ties into. I know fursuiters who say the same thing both ways.
Yeah.
More so, probably leaning towards people being interested in them for the suit. But
Yeah.
but I know it does go the other way too. I've heard some people who say, you know, people are really interested in me and they think I'm attractive, but then when I put on my suit, which is my character, they're not interested. And I've seen it that way too. So it goes in both directions. But
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting thing where it's like. And I'm lucky that for me,
But that's the thing is that wearing the like drag is different. But like when I'm just wearing makeup. It's not a different character. I'm just wearing makeup.
you're just expressing yourself.
I'm expressing
yeah.
myself.
And I
it
think a lot
really
of fursuiters
bothers
would say
me.
the same thing. It's
Yeah, and it really bothers me how many people are like, yeah, I'm not into it because you're wearing makeup or because you're too feminine or something like that. It's like, well, how I appear physically has nothing to do with my personality, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's, I don't know about you, but I'm sure you've had things like that said about you as well. That like people assume based on the way you look that you act a certain way, and it's very irritating.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure you've gone this before as well too, right?
Well, like, and I'm gonna talk about like my perspective, even for you as a person.
Yeah.
Me personally, I'm not into the drag thing, but I love you as a person. You're fucking hilarious. You're out there. You have no shame. You're just like, fuck you, I am who I am. And I like that about
It took me
you.
a long time to get there.
And you know what the thing is? I might not be into the drag thing, but some of the things that you explain to me, I'm just like, there's a lot of shit that goes into it. And I can respect that. Still not my thing. And I'm going to even use baby fur as an example too. Not towards
No,
you,
no.
But like, I'm not into it at all.
But it's
But I
interesting.
have seen like pictures and like, I'm going to use Buckley as an example. Love the guy. Fucking amazing guy. Really, really fun to hang out with. Love
I will
the guy.
say
He's down
he
to
looks
earth.
really cute in a
But with his little antlers and
cute.
him wearing his, I'm going to say attire, it's fucking adorable.
Overalls
I have
are super
seen
cute.
I have seen pictures of him and I'm like, oh my God, that is fucking cute. I love it.
Yeah.
Not my thing. I'm not into the baby fur thing. But I look at it
It's
and go,
cute.
oh my God, you're so cute.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
Like I love it.
Yeah. And I think that's the ability to appreciate the way someone expresses themselves. And that's I almost feel lucky that I am into not only the soup but the person inside.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost feel lucky in that way because I know a lot of people are not and they get frustrated because it's like you fall in love with this character but then the character. But to me, I guess that it's the combination of everything that makes the character I like come alive.
Yeah.
And again, I feel lucky because I know there's a lot of people where like as soon as you combine every facet of a person, they lose the interest. It's only one facet that they're interested in.
Exactly, and it's so irritating as well. And that's another thing as well. That's the other end of the spectrum too that makes it very difficult, is that I find that people will either, because I wear makeup, not be interested in me at all, and they can't see me in that way. And again, it's due to how we perceive these kind of things in society, right? Is that because gay men are used to looking at, like, they have an idea in their head of what a man is, and a man wearing makeup is about as far as you can imagine from our traditional ideas of what a man should look like, right? So it just doesn't trigger that part of the brain that triggers attraction, right? Because again, like Derr says, it makes them think of a woman, right? But then I'll get the other end of the spectrum where people will be attracted to me in a fetishistic way because I wear makeup or because I look feminine or femmy, right? And I personally can't date somebody who is only interested in me aesthetically because I'm a fetish for them. Of course, like anybody else, I want my partner to be attracted to me. But if you're attracted to me because I feel some kind of kink for you, because the way I look feels a kink, that makes me uncomfortable, personally. Because I feel like there's a lack of respect for me as a person there. And also like a lack of respect and understanding for why I dress and look the way I do.
I think it all comes down to self-awareness still. I've had one or two people actually come up to me and say, hey, listen, they said, I'm not trying to like be overly interested in you or anything, but I just wanted to say like, I find you attractive just because like that's what I'm sexually interested in. But I just wanted to let you know like I really appreciate that. Like I appreciate your other stuff and I'm not interested in it. And I'm like, you know what? Thank you
nice.
for being honest.
Absolutely.
And being like, and I think an important thing is like, imagine, let's say furries. Furries have hit the end game, right? Let's say we've achieved it. We have
the end game?
a matrix that we can jump into and live in, where we can be whatever creature we want to be.
Okay.
We can change it over time, right? So you could be your anthro character. It could be just something you role play. You could have your mind changed a little bit, or you could keep the same mind. Maybe like for me, I would definitely love to be a centaur sometimes because I love taurs. In that case, I feel like each one of those things that you play or would be or would want to be, each one of those changes to me is still genuine. They're all part of the same creature. But it's worth thinking about that for you. If you could be in a virtual reality that was completely, connected to your brain and everything, and you could be whatever creature you wanted to be or whatever expression you wanted to be, what would your desire be? Not only what your desire, but who would you be attracted to? Would you want to be with somebody who wants to be that all the time, or is just playing a character, or somebody?
I need a balance.
You need a balance of everything, in my opinion. But I know there's people who would lean more one way than the other. It's like, no, I want a complete creature that is done and done. And then there's other people who would say, no, I want my mate to sometimes be a taur, or I want my mate to sometimes. And then people who get into I'll use Chackets as an example because I know them well. The like feline cat taur things. In their lore, every month they change gender. So they're like kind of herm, but they have like a hormone cycle, and that's like a big part of their role play is that they will each month they transition how they express their gender. And that's fascinating to me, and I love thinking about that, like what makes people tick and whether they're attracted to that change or whether they're attracted to, right? And there's people who like TF, like continuous, the ability to transform is the thing. So it's worth thinking about that for yourself, not only for what you want, but what you want in other people, and knowing how to appreciate people for what they like and how they express themselves and the work that goes into it, because you'll learn a lot more about how to maintain a complete relationship with the person rather than just being attracted to their suit or just being attracted to a character or being not attracted to their expression. You can kind of
attraction for me is almost entirely based on like personality and like whether or not I like somebody or like I think they're smart or funny or something like that. It's very hard for me to look at like just a random person on the street. I don't think I ever look at a random person on the street and think of what I want to do to them sexually. I have to know somebody, or I like, and again, I don't have to know them personally.
When I see somebody who's really hot, you know what it makes me want to do when I see somebody who's really hot? It makes me want to get to know them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it's the trigger for me to go, oh my God, I gotta like understand this person.
I'll see people who are like really interesting looking. So like I'm also attracted to like other really androgynous looking people, and like, or like people who look like very like different or like they stand out in a crowd kind of thing. I'm like, oh, I'd love to know that person.
I have a desire to accept them.
Yes.
I want to meet like some fantasy creature that just is like this gorgeous creature, and then like go up to them and be like, listen, I accept you. Oh. Like that's what I want to, that's like my
so
thing.
Wholesome.
That's what I want to do. I love knowing what makes people tick. It helps to humanize us, which is actually kind of a weird thing to say considering we're part of a culture that's bent on the whole idea of dehumanization. But anyway, we hope you enjoyed, and we look forward to bringing you more episodes soon. They might not come out as frequently as you're used to from our other productions, but we want to be proud of these episodes, and we think that a little bit of extra quality assurance and careful work is worth it in the end. By the way, our other host, Jesse, was at FWA when we recorded this, but he should be back on the next episode, and hopefully so will you. We'll see you soon. Thanks.